You are not wrong. You are not being tested. You are being prepared. That heavy stillness, the sudden tears, the feeling that something is unraveling, it's not failure. It's frequency in motion. Think of a caterpillar. It melts into chaos before it becomes wings. What if your breakdown is really a breakthrough coded in energy? Harvard neuroscientists discovered that during major emotional shifts, the brain enters a phase of neural reorganization, a rewiring for higher awareness. That's not collapse, it's construction. When your body feels restless, your sleep disrupted, your emotions raw, it's not weakness, it's alignment. Like tectonic plates grinding just before a mountain rises, your energy is shifting, cracking, expanding. So pause, breathe. What if this discomfort is proof that you're closer than ever? This isn't the end, it's the edge. In the next part, we'll explore the chaos, face the real signs your vibration is changing. Have you felt something stirring inside? Share with me in the comments. You're not alone. They say the darkest hour is just before dawn, but what if that darkness isn't an enemy, but a doorway? When you begin vibrating at a new frequency, the reality you once lived in can't follow. It begins to dissolve, relationships shift. Old desires lose their appeal. Even your body responds in ways that seem unexplainable. This is not coincidence. It's frequency friction. You are tuning into a new signal, and your system, mind, body, energies, scrambling to catch up. The nervous system, trained for years to protect the familiar, sounds the alarm. Fight, flight, or freeze. Suddenly, you doubt yourself. You crave comfort. You second-guess your intuition. But this isn't regression. It's recalibration. At Stanford University, a recent neuropsychological study showed that when a person begins creating new thought-emotion patterns like choosing calm over chaos, the brain initially resists by triggering survival instincts. Why? Because even suffering, if repeated long enough, feels safe. And your brain's first job is not joy, it's protection. Have you felt this pushback lately? That strange war between who you were and who you're becoming? You may notice emotional waves that come out of nowhere: anger, grief, elation, or physical symptoms like headaches, gut sensitivity, or sudden exhaustion. These are not random. Your body stores emotional energy, and as you release old identities, that energy surfaces to be witnessed, not feared. Like clearing a cluttered attic, it gets messier before it becomes light. This phase is messy, yes, but meaningful. It's called identity collapse, psychological and energetic state, where the personality you've worn for survival begins to fall away. Not because it was false, but because it was limited. That version of you was built for a different vibration. Now, your soul is asking for expansion. Think about it. Have you noticed old dreams no longer light you up? Or familiar places suddenly feel foreign? That's not apathy, it's awakening. You're no longer available for what once drained your energy. And as you rise, you may find others pulling back or projecting fear onto your growth. Let them. Not everyone can walk with you to higher ground. This stage also brings what some call quantum confusion, a space where the old no longer fits and the new hasn't arrived. It's like walking through fog with no map, only inner guidance. You're learning to trust something beyond logic, your resonance. The University of Toronto recently published findings on how emotional transitions mimic states of grief, and that's exactly what you're experiencing, a grieving of the known. Even if the old wasn't joyful, it was predictable. Letting go of it is a courageous act. So if you're waking up feeling strange, unable to focus, unsure who you are, pause. You are not lost. You are in frequency transit. Let this chaos soften you, not scare you. Let it crack the shell that held you small. Have you been through this lately? Have people misunderstood your quiet, your distance, your sudden emotional depth? Drop your experience in the comments, I read them all. And chances are, someone else is walking through the same storm. And if this video has touched something real in you, gently tap like or subscribe. It's not just support, it's a signal that says, I'm choosing to remember who I am. What happens after this chaos? Not a return to control, but an arrival into coherence. In the next section, we'll explore how the most powerful transformation doesn't come from doing more, but from aligning more. From shifting your inner field so deeply, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. So stay with me. You've made it through the friction. Now let's learn how to resonate with your next reality. What if the universe isn't moved by your effort, but by your energy? Not by what you say you want, but by the quiet frequency you emit when no one is watching. The quantum field doesn't respond to noise, it responds to coherence, alignment, truth. And that's where many people misunderstand manifestation. They try harder, speak louder, hustle longer believing force equals flow. But reality doesn't shift through pressure. It shifts through precision, through resonance, through a kind of stillness that feels like remembering. Let's ground this in something real. Think of your body. When your breath is shallow, your mind scattered, your heart racing, are you truly here? Or are you living in fragments? That's incoherence. But when you slow down, breathe fully, and let your attention settle inward, something changes. Your thoughts soften. Your body opens. You become one rhythm again. The HeartMath Institute found that just 3 minutes of heart coherence per day, achieved through focused breathing and emotional awareness, can reduce cortisol by 23% and increase DHEA, a hormone linked to vitality, by up to 100%. This isn't just spiritual, it's biological. It's energetic. Coherence isn't control. It's communion. It's when your mind stops fighting your heart. When your nervous system stops scanning for danger and starts sensing truth. This is the essence of alignment. And from this place, manifestation stops being a game of effort and becomes a dance of energy. Try this with me, gently. Inhale slowly for 5 seconds. Hold that breath for 5. Now exhale softly for 5. As you do, place your hand on your chest. Feel the warmth, the rhythm, not just a heartbeat, but a signal, a transmission. You're not just calming your body, you're retuning your field. What happens when you do this daily, even for 2 or 3 minutes? You shift from survival to signal, from reaction to creation. Your body remembers safety, your heart emits clarity, and the universe, it listens not to your words, but to the vibration beneath them. Let me ask you, how many times have you chased something, only to feel more disconnected the harder you tried? Whether it was love, success, or healing, did you feel more in control or more exhausted? Now compare that to the time something clicked when you were least expecting it, when you were at peace, not pushing, when you were simply being, and suddenly the right message appeared. The call came. The opportunity opened. That's coherence. That's resonance. It's the difference between yelling across a canyon and becoming the echo itself. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And being doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing with presence, with inner harmony. When your breath and thoughts and emotions are aligned, you become a living transmitter of clarity. At MIT's Media Lab, researchers exploring emotional synchronization discovered that when 2 people enter a state of coherence together, such as breathing in sync, their heart rhythms can literally entrain, leading to mutual understanding without words. Imagine what happens when your entire being is in that kind of coherence with the field. Synchronicities aren't magic, they're echoes of your signal. So here's your simple daily practice tree at once, or carry it with you. Close your eyes, breathe 5 to 5, -5. Hand on your heart, and silently ask, what am I broadcasting right now? Is it peace? Is it panic? Is it presence? No judgment, just awareness. Because from that awareness, coherence begins. What about you? What does coherence feel like in your body? Have you noticed a difference between forcing outcomes and flowing with them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience and reflections. And if you've been walking through the chaos we spoke of earlier, this coherence is not just a tool, it's your anchor. Because what comes next is the pause. Not emptiness, but the sacred stillness before transformation. In the next section, we'll dive into the quantum pause moment, when everything feels silent, uncertain, maybe even invisible, and why that's not a delay, but a sign that you're already shifting timelines. So stay with me. The silence holds more power than you think. What if the silence you fear is the very space where reality is rearranging itself for you? There's a moment in every transformation when nothing seems to happen. The energy has shifted, the intentions have been set, you've aligned deeply, and then stillness. No signs, No progress. No clear outcome. Just space. This is the quantum pause, and while it can feel like delay, it is, in truth, sacred preparation. The pause is not punishment. It's the womb of the new timeline. Let's use a simple metaphor. Think of an archer. Before releasing the arrow, there is that one held breath, that tension in the string, the quiet before the motion. That's the pause. Not empty, but potent. Every quantum shift contains this stillness, because it's in this space that your energy field, your biology, and your external world begin to reorganize into coherence. In quantum physics, there's an experiment that changed everything, the double-slit experiment. When particles of light are shot through two slits and observed, they behave like solid objects. But when unobserved, they become waves probabilities, infinite outcomes. In other words, when you stop trying to force certainty, reality begins to unfold more freely. It arranges itself based on your vibration, not your need to control. This is the essence of the quantum pause. It is the field responding to your coherence, not your commands. But here's the subtle distinction. Pause is not paralysis. True stillness isn't about freezing out of fear, it's about surrendering with awareness. When your nervous system is in survival mode, stillness can feel like being stuck. But when your system is regulated, stillness becomes receptivity. You're not doing nothing, you're holding space for the new signal to stabilize. Have you ever felt like you were in between lives? Like the old identity no longer fit, but the new one hadn't fully arrived? That wasn't stagnation. That was quantum latency, where your energy is ahead of your form. Let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped chasing answers for a while and just listened to the quiet between thoughts? Have you ever noticed how some of your deepest realizations came not from thinking but from stillness? Maybe on a walk in nature, in the shower, or late at night, when everything else was quiet but your soul was speaking. A recent study at the University of Sussex found that intentional stillness through meditation, silence, or slow breathing enhances default mode network activity in the brain. This network is linked to introspection, imagination, and visioning. So the pause isn't empty at all. It's when your brain rewires, your heart recalibrates, and your field begins to magnetize what your old state could never reach. But most people resist this phase. Why? Because we're conditioned to equate movement with meaning. If we're not producing, posting, planning, or proving, we feel invisible. But healing doesn't rush, growth doesn't broadcast, and timeline shifts don't happen in noise, they happen in frequency stillness. This is why the pause feels uncomfortable. It strips away distractions. It asks you to sit with yourself, not as a performer, but as a presence. So here's your invitation. When the world goes quiet, don't fill it with noise. When nothing seems to be happening, trust that everything is happening beneath the surface. Let the pause soften you. Let it prepare you. What does stillness feel like for you? Is it peaceful, or does it bring discomfort? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'd love to hear what this space has revealed to you or what you're still holding within it. And if this message resonates, stay with me. Because up next, we'll explore something even deeper, the state of receiving, where you no longer need to perform for manifestation but simply become available to it. We'll talk about moving from proving your worth to embodying your truth. Because after the pause comes the arrival. Your next timeline isn't waiting for you to fight harder. It's waiting for you to be still enough to receive it. Have you ever felt like you had to perform just to be worthy of receiving? To look strong, stay productive, keep it all together because somewhere deep down, you feared that if you paused, if you showed your softness, you'd fall behind or be forgotten. But here's a quiet truth that might just shift everything. You don't receive by effort, you receive by resonance. You don't have to pretend to be strong. You only need to become a true match to what you desire. Not by forcing it, but by being it. This is the state of receiving not as a reward, but as a reflection. Neville Goddard said, "Persistence isn't effort, it's emotional stability." That means you don't need to fight to prove you're enough. You simply need to stay centered in the knowing that you already are. Let's bring it down to something real. Imagine someone who's always lived in scarcity, never enough time, love, or money. They've learned to hustle, strive, outperform. But underneath, Their signal is still lack. Now, imagine if that same person paused and began to live each day not as someone trying to escape poverty, but as someone who already feels secure. Their decisions change, their energy softens, and suddenly, they stop chasing abundance and start attracting it. Why? Because their frequency has shifted from proving to embodying. Science backs this up. A study published in Frontiers in Psychology, University of Zurich, found that people who practice emotional regulation and presence, especially through mindfulness experience, higher satisfaction in relationships, better health, and greater long-term success. It's not because they work harder. It's because they're not operating from inner chaos. They've stepped out of survival and into coherence. Receiving is a nervous system state. It's not passive, but it is peaceful. You don't open your arms to life when you're tense, rushing, or trying to earn worth. You open when you feel safe enough to let go. Safe enough to believe that what's meant for you doesn't require a mask. It meets your essence, not your performance. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still performing? Where are you still trying to deserve what you want, instead of aligning with it? What would happen if you stopped trying to impress and started to embody? You are already enough. The field responds to that knowing. Not when you beg, but when you become. Not when you shout, but when you stabilize. Let's shift from living like we're being watched to living like we're being mirrored. What does receiving look like for you? A calm breath? A softened chest? A full yes without apology? I'd love to hear it. Share in the comments. And if this reflection stirred something in you, stay close. Because in the next part, we're diving into what often comes next, the release. When you begin receiving at a new level, your system must also detox the old. We'll explore the energetic cleanse that comes when the old identity starts falling away, and how to move through that with grace, not fear. So stay with me. The new can only land in hands willing to let go of the old. Have you ever cleaned out a closet, only to find yourself unexpectedly emotional not because of the items, but because of who you were when you wore them? That's what energetic detox feels like. It's not just about releasing what no longer fits. It's about grieving the version of you who once needed it. The healing process is rarely neat or linear. When you step into a new frequency, the things, people, habits, and identities that no longer match that frequency will begin to fall away. And sometimes, that feels like loss even when it's progress. This is the stage of energetic shedding. And here's something you might not expect. You may feel worse before you feel better, but that doesn't mean you're off track. In fact, it often means you're precisely where you're supposed to be. According to psychologist Dr. Nicole LaPera, emotional detoxing can manifest as fatigue, emotional turbulence, irritability, or even physical symptoms as the body recalibrates. Your nervous system is processing decades of emotional residue, and letting go isn't always graceful. Have you noticed that when you begin to shift toward healing, clarity, or expansion, old relationships begin to strain? Sudden misunderstandings occur. Your body aches in new places. You cry and don't know why. This isn't backtracking. This is the release. Your body is wisdom. Your energy is intelligence. And when you rise, the systems that kept you anchored to the old timeline begin to resist, then dissolve. It's like your soul is spring cleaning and every attachment is up for review. This is where the idea of identity grief comes in. You're not sad because something is wrong. You're sad because you're saying goodbye to a version of yourself that once protected you, once defined you. That pain you feel, it's not failure. It's memory. It's release. It's a body remembering and releasing years of survival patterns. And sometimes grief isn't about death. It's about departure from who you used to be. Let me ask you, have you ever felt deep sadness right after making a brave choice? Like after quitting a job, ending a relationship, or stepping into a new version of yourself? That ache is not a sign of mistake. It's a sign of movement, of transformation. Not all pain is misalignment. Some of it is the body's way of making space for what's coming. So when the tears come, let them. When the old fears rise, witness them. You are not going backward. You're detoxing. You are clearing space for the life that matches your new frequency. Research from the University of Wisconsin-Madison has shown that people who consciously process their emotional shifts, rather than suppressing or rationalizing them, report higher resilience and life satisfaction long-term. In other words, feeling your way through the shift is the healing. So if you're in this phase, no raw, uncertain, maybe even confused pause. Place your hand on your heart and remind yourself, this isn't falling apart. This is falling open. Let your nervous system grieve without shame. Let your heart stretch without guilt. What about you? Have you been feeling this release lately? Have old versions of yourself surfaced in memories, habits, or emotional waves? I'd love to hear how it's unfolding for you. Drop your story in the comments. Your truth may give someone else the courage to honor their own. And stay with me, because up next is our closing chapter. You're not being tested, you're being trusted. A perspective shift that may just change the way you see every challenge you've ever faced. Let's finish this journey together. What if you've never been tested, only trusted? Not by some distant universe judging your worth, but by the quantum field responding to the consistency of your frequency. What if every delay, every moment of silence, every emotional wave was never a question of, are you strong enough? But rather a mirror asking, are you stable enough to receive what you've called in? See, the quantum field doesn't test you like a teacher handing out exams. It mirrors you precisely, consistently, without opinion. It doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your vibration. It doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. When you waver between desire and fear, longing and doubt, the signal becomes noisy, and so does reality. But when you become emotionally congruent, when your thoughts, feelings, and actions align, something shifts. Reality begins to crystallize. Let's make this real. Imagine planting a seed. You wouldn't dig it up every day to check if it's growing, right? You trust the soil, the process, the timing. That's what the universe is asking of you. Not more effort, but more embodiment, more frequency integrity. A recent study from the Max Planck Institute in Germany found that when individuals maintain emotional coherence throughout the day, meaning they stay energetically consistent, rather than reactive, their brain's prefrontal cortex becomes more active. This part governs clarity, decision-making, and creativity. In simple terms, when you regulate your emotional state, you literally access more of your potential. You think clearer, move smarter, and magnetize faster. So here's the shift. You are not being tested. You are being calibrated. And the universe isn't withholding. It's simply waiting for the signal to stabilize. Here are 3 grounded ways to strengthen that signal daily. 1. Become, for 5 minutes each morning. Close your eyes, breathe, and for just 5 minutes, become the version of you who already lives the life you desire. Walk in their posture, feel their breath, speak their thoughts. This isn't pretending, it's frequency rehearsal. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish imagination from reality. It responds to the signal. 2. Frequency journaling. At the end of each day, instead of writing what you did, write what you broadcasted. Were you in lack, trust, fear, confidence? This awareness is gold. It allows you to track patterns not just in behavior, but in energy. 3. The I am already practice. Pick one desire you've been chasing, then live today as if it's already en route. Not with delusion, but with energetic readiness. If you believed it was guaranteed, how would you breathe? What would you stop tolerating? What would you allow yourself to enjoy? Let me ask you, what frequency did you broadcast today? Were you a match for expansion, or were you negotiating with fear? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your reflection. And if this video has helped you reconnect to your truth, gently like, subscribe, and tap the bell. It tells the algorithm you're ready to walk this path, and it helps this message reach someone else who might need it. You've come a long way. From chaos to coherence, from silence to receiving, from performing to being. And now, you're not just manifesting. You're remembering who you really are. This isn't about waiting anymore. This is about allowing. And the most powerful frequency in the universe is a heart that no longer doubts its worth. So when the next wave comes, don't brace for a test. Smile gently and trust that you are being entrusted with the next timeline. And that's not pressure. That's permission. You're not falling behind. You're falling into alignment. And the universe is already responding.